A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you an RPG look today. This was a Kickstarter that I backed and actually received last week. This is ShadowDark. Now, the bare basics of this is a rules light tabletop RPG that kind of harkens back to the days of early Dungeons and Dragons. There are going to be some spoilers in here, so if you are a player in a ShadowDark campaign, or if you have a Dungeon Master that is going to run a ShadowDark campaign, I would suggest you turn this video off or go and watch another Plaguelands Media video, because there are going to be some things from the Kickstarter that are going to be spoiled. Pardon me, I need a shot of bad decision juice. So, first of all, let's have a look at this book. It is a pretty hefty tome, beautiful production values. We have ShadowDark, and this cover is absolutely gorgeous. When we open it up, we have some tables here with the weapons and armor, some kind of rules on the front cover, and similar to the back cover, how to generate kind of random characters and whatnot. I'm not going to go through the rules here. There are a ton of videos out there that already do that. I just want to show you what came in the Kickstarter. So we have the designers, the artists. The art in this book is absolutely phenomenal. Arcane Library and whatnot. We have our table of contents. I mean, I absolutely love this black and white art that just harkens back to the early D&D days. It's so thematic. So we have the ShadowDark idea, which is basically, the ShadowDark is, if you're a Forgotten Realms player, it's the Underdark. Let's just not beat around the bush here. Your characters are just going dungeon diving. That's the basic premise. Rules light and intuitive, and it really fucking is rules light and intuitive. You've got your basics here. The characters describe the action, movement, rounds, dice, stats, checks, hit points, and all that kind of thing. Now, what I love about this game is it's dungeon diving, sure. And one thing to remember when you are role-playing in dungeons, light sources. You need light, either through spells or through carrying torches. In this game, a torch lasts for 1 hour of real time. Not an hour of game time, not rounds or anything like that. 1 hour of real time, which sets kind of an urgency to this, which I really appreciate. And I think it's a factor that I'm going to incorporate in other role-playing games that I do play with my party, with my group. It's a really great idea. Characters, name, ancestry. Ancestry is technically race. I believe they're taking this from like Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is okay. Class, level, experience, alignment and deity, title, background, stats, hit points, armor class, attacks, talents, spells, and gear. That's pretty much it. You can have characters start at level 0, start at level 1. Stats are the same as other role-playing games. You have your modifiers for if you have low stats or you have high stats. Strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. We all know these. So you can be dwarf, elf, goblin, half-orc, halfling, and human. And they each come with the languages that you know and a bonus So the dwarf is stout. Start with +2 hit points. Roll hit points per level with advantage. Advantage is when you roll 2 dice, take the higher of the 2. And the elf and the half-orc and the human gain 1 additional talent at first level. There are only 4 classes in this game. This, I think, is fantastic. I mean, there are more. I'll talk about that later. But for the core book, you have the fighter, the priest, the thief, and the wizard. And when you gain a level, you roll 2d6 and you take a talent. You don't get to choose your path or anything like that. It's completely random. This helps to kind of force you to create a story around your character based on whatever you come up with. So proficient with all weapons, all armor, hit points, 1d8 per level. Add your constitution modifier to your gear slots if positive. This is a very interesting resource management game in that you can only hold a certain amount of gear. Very thematic there. Weapon mastery and grit. And then the priests have the priest talents, their spells. The thief has their own abilities. And the wizard has their own abilities. Then you have a background. You can pick it or roll randomly. This is purely thematic for role-playing purposes. 3 alignments, chaotic, lawful, and neutral, as opposed to Dungeons & Dragons, which has lawful good, lawful neutral, chaotic, lawful evil, neutral good, true neutral, neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. They just putting it down to 3. Then we have some deities that you can choose to worship. Again, thematic languages that you can, titles. Now, this is kind of cool. I like this idea. At level 1 to 2, a fighter is known as a squire if they're lawful, a knave if chaotic, and a warrior. And then these kind of work their way down to level 10, which is the max level in this game. Priests, a lawful priest has like acolyte, crusader, templar, champion, paladin, thieves, and wizards. I think this is a really cool addition so that your players kind of feel like as they are advancing in the game, the NPCs they come up to and approach and whatnot, they are also recognizing that, yes, these are heroes, that they've delved into the ShadowDark and whatnot. Languages, starting gear. So if you're starting with 0 level characters, you can roll 1d4, and then they roll that many times on here. Armor class, gear. It's all your regular stock standard stuff. If you want to, pardon me, start with a crawling kit, costs 7 gold, takes up 7 gear slots, and you get rope, grappling hook, iron spikes, rations, torch, flint and steel, backpack. Back in the 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons days, these are the stuff that you would have to buy when you started out your character. Different armor with the gear stats, different weapons, all basic stuff. Character names, if that's what you want to go with. Level advancement. Okay. I said you rolled for a talent every level. You don't. It's every 2nd level. 10 XP gets you 20 XP, so on and so on. Level up at increased hit points per level. So it's all stock standard stuff. Like, there's nothing groundbreakingly new with the exception of the torch rule here. But this book is phenomenal. I absolutely love this game, and this is one that I definitely want to run with my players, for sure. How to cast spells, wizard mishaps. So if you do a mishap roll on a tier 1 or 2 spell. There are only 5 tiers of spells, both priest and wizard. Something happens, so you can't cast the spell for a week, or your hand slipped, you target a random ally with the spell. You have disadvantage on casting spells of the same tier for 10 rounds. And then they get worse the higher up you get on the wizard table. Scrolls and wands, spell attributes, then there's the priest spell list, the wizard spell list, and then, of course, all your spells. You can see they're very similar, but just simplified. Charm Person, tier 1, duration 1 to 8 days. You magically beguile a humanoid of level 2 or less within near range, who regard you as a friend for the duration. The spell ends if you or your allies do anything to hurt it that it notices. The target knows you magically enchanted it when the spell ends. So these are very simplistic descriptions of all the spells, but it works in the system. It really fucking does. Then we have gameplay, adventuring, rolling the die, luck tokens, which you can give to players, using stats, making checks, all the same kind of stuff. Light sources, movement conditions in the ShadowDark, resting, stealth and surprise, combat. If you've played Dungeons & Dragons, you know all this stuff. Now, when you return from the ShadowDark, when you come out of your dungeon crawl, you can carouse to celebrate your exploits. So everyone that wants to do this puts in a certain amount of money. Depending on how much money they put in, depends on how long they carouse for and what their bonus to the die roll is going to be. And then you roll 1d8, add the bonus, and then that is what happens. So let's say, you wake up blearily in your bed, you get 2 experience. You're locked in the stocks for 1d4 days and find 20% of your total wealth for setting a building on fire, but you gain 2 experience. You wake up deep inside the local ruler's stronghold holding one of their priceless family heirlooms, Footsteps Approach. Gain 6 XP and a 90 to 100 item from your treasure table if you escape. So carousing can be good, and there are benefits to it. Can also be bad as well. Wizards and Thieves. This is a gambling game that your characters can play in a tavern. They give you the kind of rules for that, which is really fun. And then an example of play, which is always useful. So that's kind of the players part of the book. That's a pretty hefty amount of it, but Games Master side of the book. So this just basically tells you how to be a Games Master, how to run the game, all that kind of stuff, setting the tone, light mishaps, modes of play. And then modes of play is interesting. So you can change it up to make it even deadlier than it already is, which is a lot of fun. They have Blitz mode, Chaos mode, Deadly mode, all of that kind of stuff. Random encounters, of course. And then we just have table after table. Traps, hazards, awarding XP, something happens, rumors, adventures, NPCs, rival crawlers, NPC names, ShadowDark maps, overland and hex maps, settlement maps, taverns, shops, beautiful art, the Arctic, Artisan District, Castle District, Cave. These are all encounter tables, deep tunnels, desert, forest, grassland, High District, jungle, Low District, market, mountain, ocean, river and coast, ruins, slums, swamp, tavern. And these are like a woman walks up and throws a drink in the PC's face. Just these role-playing encounters that you can have. Tomb, university. All right. This is great for Not only new dungeon masters who might have trouble conceiving their own adventures, but if you just want something random to happen in your game and your players say you're in a tavern and you're like, you know what, let's see what happens and we'll take it from there. I love these tables. They are freaking hilarious. Then we have our monsters. Monster attributes are armor class, hit points, attacks, movement, stat modifier, alignment, spellcasting, and dark adapted. You can randomly generate monsters. You can change monsters up. You can design your own monsters. So we have like the aboleth, enormous antediluvian catfish, covered in slime and tentacles. They hate all intelligent beings. You've got your armor class, hit points, attack. Their abilities, curse, enslave, and telepathic. Then you got acolytes, different angels. You don't get a lot of pictures here, which it's good and bad. I prefer when each monster has a picture, but I've played role-playing games long enough to kind of know and understand what these creatures are supposed to look like. So we have a ton of them here. The angels, we have the demons, we have the devils, dinosaurs. This is all stock standard. The drow. Stock standard fantasy role-playing stuff. But the art is... I've just got to say, the art in this book, I think, is phenomenal. It just reminds me so much of the old fighting fantasy art by I forget who did the art, but the fighting fantasy books by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone. I love this black and white motif. We have Mordanticus the Flayed, a skinless mummy lich. Okay. Mushroom folk, nagas. It's what it does when I read through this is it gives me ideas, and that's what you want a great rulebook to do, is to give the dungeon master ideas on the sorts of games they want to play and where they can put these monsters to challenge the players. Then we have treasure. There's all these flavor text inside it, which I appreciate. Now, treasure's important because that's your XP. You don't get XP for killing monsters in this game or for, completing tasks. The amount of wealth you bring out of the ShadowDark is your experience. So that is something that you have to kind of keep in mind. And I think it's really interesting because the treasure and the gear, it's going to be a juggling act. What you keep, what you get rid of. So we have the different treasure tables, mundane items, magic items, potions, utility items, utility treasure, weapons, item personality if you have ascension item, how to make magic items, and then possibly the best part of any fantasy role-playing game book to read, the different types of magic items. So these always are enjoyable. Boots of Hovering, Blade of Vengeance, Cloak of the Bat, Hourglass of the Black Sands. Once per day you can turn the hourglass when you cast a spell. The spell effect lasts longer. These are so much fun because as a person that runs these sorts of games, you're thinking of what item do I want to give my players and how do you think they're going to use that item in the future? And that's what makes tabletop role-playing so fucking good, in my opinion. Different potions, Robe of the Sorcerer, Short Sword of the Thief, +1 short sword, +2 if wielded by a halfling or a thief. Once per day, regain a luck token you just spent. That is so cool. And then join the ShadowDark community. This is the character sheet. Whoops, I think I knocked the camera there a little bit. Let me just kind of fix that. This is how simple the character sheet is. Strength, intelligence, dexterity, wisdom, constitution, charisma, hit points, AC, attacks, name, ancestry, class, level, XP, title, alignment, background, deity, talents and spells, and your gear. And that's it. That's all you're keeping track of. I fucking love that so much. The credits, of course, very important. Third party license, and then some more rules there. So that is ShadowDark, the tabletop role-playing game. This is fast becoming one of my favorite role-playing game rule systems, and one that I will be pushing for my players to experience in the future. Rules light is what I love, because don't get me wrong, I love like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I love rules heavy games, but sometimes you just want the players to go into a dungeon, explore, get the shit beaten out of them, grab some treasure, fuck off, have some fun. You can run this as a one-shot. You can run this as a campaign. It doesn't really matter. But I think this is an absolutely fantastic role-playing game system that I am very, very keen to try out in the future. But this isn't all that came with the Kickstarter. Let's put that to one side. Let's have some bad decision juice. And let's talk about the ShadowDark magazines, I should say. There are 3 of them. This is number 1 that I got with the Kickstarter. And this gives us a new area to explore, the Gloaming and Ancient Forest, with like the hex maps and the different encounter tables. There are going to be spoilers here, so you might want to kind of look away. We have our introduction. We have some new characters. We have the Knight of St. Idris. Cursed knights who walk the path of St. Idris, the unholy, the possessed. They embrace the darkness in order to fight it, cleansing evil with a flurry of steel and forbidden sorcery. Think of this as the warlock in Dragon Warriors. Demonic possession, new spellcasting, new talents, and new spells, witch spells. We have the Warlock class. Howling warriors with sharpened teeth, wild-eyed doom speakers preaching of dissolution, and cloaked law hunters bearing the hidden mark of Shun. You choose a patron to serve, and that patron gives you kind of supernatural gifts and different boons. And the witch class, which is exactly what you think it is, they all have different titles, of course. And the warlock patrons, Almazat, Kytheros, Mugdalblub, Shun the Vile, Titania, and the Willow Man. And they each give you different patron boons and diabolical background. Then magic, we have diabolical mishaps and the witch spell list and all the new spells that come with it. Tier 1 to 5, that is so fucking creepy, it's not funny. The Gloaming. So this is key to the map that was in the front of the book. I'm going to quickly skip over that. We've got some new monsters that you can use. And the Hideous Halls, this is a first level adventure. We have an overview, a room key, different areas. And there is the map of the of a dungeon. Okay, so that is number 1. I got number 2. This is set in the desert. So we have the Dajurum Desert here. Again, we get new characters, the Desert Rider, the Pit Fighter, and the Rasgadai, which is, they're assassins basically. New weapons, new gameplay rules about pit fighting, enduring wounds, poisons, mounts. We get all the desert information, new monsters, and the Fortress of the Burning Brothers, a 4th to 6th level adventure. So your characters have to be much, much higher to survive this. And there is the map. Okay, number 3. This is the Isles of Andric. So this is kind of like Viking inspired. So you have your new characters, the Sea Wolf, the Seer, pardon me, new titles and Nord backgrounds, the Old Gods, Odin, Freya, and Loki. New gear, boat rules, oaths that you can take. If your 0 level character dies during a gauntlet, you can use the following table to determine how your new character arrives. So basically this is, when you die, you can roll on this to kind of bring in a substitute. You have a monastery here, raiding Arctic Sea encounters, new magic. The Isles of Andrils, that's all the keys for the map. And new monsters, and Horde of the Wolf King. This is a 0 level gauntlet adventure for ShadowDark. And then you have the map right there. So, with all of this, that is a lot of content. A lot of content for whatever game you want to play. The Kickstarter also came with a Dungeon Master screen. I don't actually use these because I play online. But the art is just phenomenal. And of course you have the tables on this side, like every good Dungeon Master's screen. It came with these character sheets for pre-made characters with a picture of them on the back. So we have human priest, a half-orc thief, a human fighter, a human wizard, we have a halfling fighter, with a pawn mustache, a dwarf wizard, goblin priest, pretty cool, a dwarven thief, an elf thief, human wizard, a human fighter, and a human priest. So those are some pre-generated characters if you want to use them. We came with some variations of monsters. So we have the variations of the Brain Eaters. Think of them as illithids from Dungeons & Dragons. We have Mazin the Mesmerist, Crabstrosity, you can see there, and different ooze cubes, like gelatinous cubes and black puddings and whatnot. We also got, and this is very spoilerish what I'm about to show you, so please, if you're a player, you know, turn this off now. But we get a little dungeon map Twisting Caves of the Vale ones, and then some information. The Hidden Leprechaun Hollow, Sanctum of the Elephant God, the Eroding Isle of the Executioner, and the Wavestone Monolith. So if you don't want to create your own dungeons, then you have pre-made dungeons already provided. So, what do I think of ShadowDark? I fucking love this. I love this book. I love this system. I think this is very conducive to the style of play that my players enjoy. Rules light, experience heavy. You can do a lot with a little. And that I really, really appreciate. So this is definitely going to be one that I introduce to my players after we finish our current campaign of Vampire the Masquerade. Although we do have a lot of systems that they are itching to try. But I might try and run this as a one-shot, give them one of the pre-gen characters to use, and see what happens. Just have them go crazy with it. But as it stands, I think this is a phenomenal book. I think you need to go out and get a copy and experience this. It's a great read. When they say rules light, they really mean it. It's easy to understand. It's great for introducing first-time gamers into the whole tabletop role-playing game system. People might be a little bit intimidated by, for example, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition or Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, or something along those lines. But here, you can use this to even get children into role-playing. Although, you know, you might want to tone down the character death thing a little bit, but you can still use it because it's so easy to understand, and that's what I love about it. I love that your players aren't focused on how many abilities do I have, what can I do at any given moment. They're just focused on the story because it's so rules light. This is ShadowDark role-playing game. Highly recommend it. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, go and check out all the other stuff that we're doing at Plaguelands Media. Go and check out Ian Van Gammet's other art channel. We've got some great stuff coming up in 2024 that we hope to share with all of you in the very near future. But most importantly, everybody, please stay safe, have a drink, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.